Hi, this is In Zhao from whichmba.net. This time we'll be talking about corporate strategy and international business with Professor Randy Lunnan from BI-Fudan International MBA. She has been nominated 7 times of the best professor of BI-Fudan International MBA Program. We would like to know that when a company adopts a corporate strategy of internationalization, how to justify its implementation of the strategy, for example, going abroad on its own, or acquiring existing companies, partnering with local partners, or setting up joint ventures. So what aspects should be carefully considered before a company making any progress?
I think the first question that you started with also is the strategy. So a company that decides to go abroad should first consider its strategy. So what are the core strategic advantage? Everything starts with strategy and a clear understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses. Also, the second question is, where do you want to go? So then you need to consider the market, where you are going, and what are the strengths of the market. Actually, what can the market offer you? That could be scale, simply a new market for your products and a chance to earn some more with your products that you have developed. Or it could be some additional benefits, for example, low costs or low labor costs or low administration costs, or also lower production costs if the scale combined with your own country and the market you're going to is large and makes your total costs go down. So when you have considered all of these things, the third step rather is, how are you going to do this? And then you have the choice, should you acquire a company, should you do it on your own, should you use some form of alliance, for example a joint venture or some other type of partnering agreements, or maybe you should simply export. So these questions then have to be carefully considered, and in terms of what resources you need. If you need strong control, then usually you would go for an ownership option. For example, developing it yourself or acquiring another company. Of course, there have to be available targets, so there have to be some companies that can be acquired in that market, and companies that you can afford. That's kind of a precondition. But in the choice between organic growth or doing it yourself or an acquisition, you need to think about time, because an acquisition is a lot faster. Doing it yourself usually takes some time. And obviously you need to hire people, you need to find a location, you kind of need to develop things from scratch if you do it your own. Some companies choose to do this. So we have a Norwegian company that's actually in China called Jotun. They make paint and coatings, and they're here in Shanghai. And they have in their strategy, they do organic growth when they can. And the reason why they do this is because they have a very strong company culture, and they want to have strong control over their company culture. So they prefer the organic growth option, even if it takes time. They're a family-owned company, they have the time. In China, actually, they made a deviation. So actually in China, they have a joint venture with Costco, because they were a late mover to China, so they wanted a little bit fast option, which was the joint venture. Also with Costco is a big customer of theirs. If you have an acquisition, it's faster, but then you also have the challenge of integrating with the company you're acquiring. So that's, of course, you need to know how to do that. What to pay, the right price, do the due diligence, and also, as I said, the big integration issue. When it comes to integration or acquisitions, there are 2 major types of acquisition. So one, you do a market acquisition. So basically you acquire resources that you have, that you know, or you do a technology acquisition. So you try to acquire some new knowledge or R&D or new ways of doing things. Many Chinese acquisitions abroad have been technology acquisitions. So for example, there was an article in Economist this week talking about how Chinese companies are acquiring the German Mittelstand, which is medium-sized, small German companies. And the reason for this has a lot to do with technology and management competence. Then you have, so those are the ownership options, and then you have the collaboration options, which is joint venture and collaboration, you know, like a contract collaboration. So there you obviously have less control. Also you commit less because you don't have to pay for it all yourself, and then you can use the resources of a partner. And
but
it's also more flexible, so you can withdraw.
Right?
Yeah, it's a compromise in a way. Can also be very, very fast and very good because you get to use the resources of a partner, and you're more flexible, so you can withdraw if it didn't work out. So somehow these collaboration choices are also seen as kind of first steps. You can use them as intermediary strategies in order to acquire later. And then you have maybe the least risky option, which is the export option. Then you produce at home and then you basically export. So those are the choices. So it depends on what you need. If you want control, you go for the ownership option. If you want more flexibility, you could go for a collaboration or export option.
Yes, as far as we can understand, is that the company should know who they are. Know very carefully that who they are, and also would like to do more research on the market they would like to enter into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crucial that the company knows of its strategic advantage. Everything is strategic or competitive advantage.
Okay.
Also abroad,
yeah.
obviously.